I dare say that it's not a great use of time for a founder to be visible, to be sharing things that they're passionate about, even when it's uncomfortable. Because, folks, it is uncomfortable for absolutely everyone out there. Nobody loves hearing their voice or seeing their face.
We're here with Stacy Bishop, founder of Selling Fintech, and we're talking about crucial strategies to sell to banks. Welcome, Stacy.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys.
Super excited.
So I'm Tracy.
I'm DJ, and this is the Down to Fintech podcast.
So Stacy, I want to give a little bit more background on you before we dive in, because you're super impressive and we're honored to have you. Stacy has spent 23 years at Jack Henry, one of the big three core banking providers, where she logged 250 nights a year on the road selling to community bankers before moving into revenue leadership. She's worked on both sides, so inside the bank and inside the fintech, and now she's advising fintech founders on how to actually sell to bankers.
Thank you so much.
First question here is, say a founder comes to you and they're saying they want to hit their revenue goals for the year. What's the first thing you typically want them to do?
A fair question, and I will tell you my answer has changed over time. These days, when I speak with founders, more often than not, when we start talking about what they have in store this year and what their goals are and where they are now, one of the first questions I ask is around brand and marketing spend and PR. And I know that seems odd for a salesperson to say, but I think that is what I've come to understand more in my life after leaving a big core company where we had fantastic brand coverage. It was easier to go into conversations with bankers or credit union employees and have a meaningful conversation about the product at that point, because we were known. We did have that type of support and effort and elements. I think in the fintech world, what I've observed and what I began to experience these past 6 years since exiting out of Jack Henry is just that if you think you're going to sell more simply by throwing sellers or big sales hires at your solution, and if you think that's going to generate revenue for you magically, I suspect that might be wishful thinking. In my experience, more so, you need to be asking those fundamental questions about, well, say somebody in sales gets us a conversation with a banker that we want to chat with. What in the world is this banker going to see when they sign on to our website? What are they going to see when they go out to LinkedIn? Because they're going to go out to LinkedIn, or they just Google you and look at news. These days, I truly just support this fact that it's a better use of time and energy and resources to start thinking in terms of the company brand, the founder's personal brand, PR and marketing, before you start even engaging with someone like me. So that's where I'm at these days, DJ. And in fact, I've already asked that question a couple of times this week before we were taping this.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's super important to build that trust first before even reaching out and showing that you have a presence. Times has changed over the past 2 decades where, you have your digital footprint and you can really build a lot of trust and also educate your audience even before you hop on a call.
Yeah. And this idea of a founder-led brand, but this is something that I'm hearing more and more. Is this something you advocate for?
Absolutely. If you look at a founder, I think they tend to, in some cases, undersell their own interesting nature and their origin story. What is it about this individual that shaped who they are, that directed them, or just created this passion within them to go out and solve for something that they think bankers can benefit from? And that's compelling. And that is such a valuable use of a founder's time and energy. I'm confident there's many out there that might disagree with me. I'm certain many of them would just rather build and would rather add more features and functions. But man, if you look at people like Alex Hormozy or others out there in the industry that actually allocate 30+% of their time to producing content, to doing things to amp up their name, I dare say that it's a great use of time for a founder to be visible, to be sharing things that they're passionate about, even when it's uncomfortable, because folks, it is uncomfortable for absolutely everyone out there. Nobody loves hearing their voice or seeing their face on a screen, but it's important for people to understand you as the leader of an organization.
I mean, I really want to
Yeah.
thank Stacy for bringing a lot of this up, because the one thing that hasn't changed over the years is just the concept of know, like, and trust. I know, that's like a comment, whoever wrote that in a book or whatever, I think it's a book title, know, like, and trust. And you still have to build those relationships, even in a B2B sense, when selling to banks, because you're still selling to people at the banks. You have to understand that they're not just looking for stuff about solutions and products. They're a whole person who has a life outside of the business world that they want to connect with as well. And being able to package that in a way where you're talking about your story as a founder, growing your company, as well as being a human and doing all the other things you need to do, and how that is a part of your life, really makes a huge difference if you can bring
So
it in
true.
together.
That's so well stated. There's this old adage we've believed for years in sales, and I think it's more true now than ever, and that is people buy from people. People buy from people, especially people they like and people they trust. And in today's day and age, one of the easiest ways for you to begin creating that trust is to be visible as a founder, is to be out there, to be speaking, to be shown in articles. If you're not as comfortable with video, I get it, but start somewhere. Start with articles, start with context posts, text posts out there, or work with organizations to help you craft that level of comfort so that your face can be a bit more shown. Because DJ, you're dead on. People at a bank, they are not just bankers. I'm speaking to them as bankers. This role they fill, they have a title, they have job duties related to that title and that role, and they have aspirations within that current role and potentially for their next role or what comes next for them. And when they are making a purchasing decision for technology, your technology, they need to know, well, perhaps I'll back up. Let's say you need to know that these are, yes, whole people, and that these are people that are putting their careers on the line to purchase your solution. So think of them as a person and understand then that these people want what you're selling, but they need to know you first.
And in a sea of noise where everyone's pitching the product, everyone's pitching the features, you do have to stand out in a different way. And that's where it comes, that personal connection, coming off as authentic and in a way that they can relate to you, because that disrupts the pattern, especially when everyone else is just selling features.
Just schlepping their stuff. You got it. And I've been thinking about this quite a bit lately. This may be a bit of a derivative. You'll hear me start to talk about this a bit more because it's an idea that I've started seeing repeated in my own work, and I've never contextualized it before or talked about it. But the way I see it, these creators and these innovators that are doing amazing things and very unique things. On the flip side, though, they've created a unique set of challenges for themselves in that they have to pitch an idea that's so revolutionary that there may not be any context for it. And you are going out and you're doing something so innovative that you have this almost this creator conundrum, if you will, because now you have to start taking people along on the journey with you. And they're not just going to go on this journey because you want them to, just because you have these features and this cool tech and you have this passion. What's going to take them on that story with you is you understanding their current world and understanding how you personally, as a founder, can connect to that current world with your story, with what got you here. And that's what earns you the opportunity to begin to pitch them on these new and innovative ideas that separate you from the others out there in the marketplace. So that is just something I've really started noticing more and more, these conversations that I have coming up, these super intelligent, highly technical people doing amazing things that are having that difficult time connecting to banks. It's a real challenge.
I had that same thought too, especially with AI. We're
Oh
creating
man.
problems that never existed before. So you're going to bankers and they're already moving trillions, right? And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, we've been doing just fine, and they don't fully grasp the opportunity at hand because you just don't know.
Sure.
No one really knows the gravity of it. So when you can't really picture that in your head, it's hard to be like, okay, I'm dying for a solution right now. Where's the urgency?
Oh, you've nailed it. And if I agree with you, there's also kind of a contrarian view that I can take here and will if you'll let me. And that is you mentioned the fact that bankers are getting the job done. Let's acknowledge that. If you are a fintech founder and you have created a better way to make these people's lives easier, and perhaps they are dying for it, but they're getting the job done, your passion or you just vomiting up features and functions isn't going to make the conversation any better for you. Because remember, they're getting the job done today in this scenario without you. It really comes down to that forward thinking founder establishing the brand, talking about the product, encouraging others that are hearing them to say, yeah, as a matter of fact, that really is a pain in the butt, and we should solve for it because it is costing us X, or it is saving, or it could save us hours worth of time. I think that the takeaway there, at least for me, DJ, and I was just going down that path without fully thinking of where I wanted to land it. More so, it's just that these individuals are getting the job done, and you can play that to your advantage, but please acknowledge that they're getting the job done today without you.
It reminds me too of selling to investors. Totally other topic. You ask a lot of founders who've pitched to investors what the investors are looking for. People and moat. Do not talk about your product. They don't care. They may not even know what you're talking about. Do not talk about your features. We're talking about marketing and about leading with features, but in other circumstances of selling your business to investors and other really important partners, you're not going to do that.
No. And why would you? To use a phrase that DJ mentioned earlier that's so appropriate, it's just noise. There are so many people vibe coding and rolling out solutions that have all these features and functions. What you've mentioned, Tracy, reminds me of a discussion I overheard mid last year amongst this group of bankers and technologists and founders like VCs, PEs that are out in the space. And something that the investors said, those that were represented in the room, there were 6, 7 companies, they said this, and it's so true. They said that when they are determining whether a fintech will get funding, it's not about features and functions. Instead, it's about the founder and the founder's ability to sell, the founder's ability to talk about the company, to talk about the solution, and then sell that solution. All of that begins with the personal brand and then throwing some fuel on the fire with marketing and PR and supporting the founder-led sales motion before you start bringing on the big teams of sellers.
It's not about having the best product. It's about who can communicate it the best.
Yeah. And if you do have the product, fantastic. Great for you. You are leaps and bounds ahead of the competition. But we do have to acknowledge the fact that in today's day and age, and honestly for my entire career, technology is a leapfrog game. Whatever you're rolling out today, your competition's going to roll out next month, next quarter, next year. And I think we're accustomed to that. When we're making decisions now, we're looking for those moats, like Tracy said. We're looking for those unique situations that are going to separate you more long-term than others out there in the industry. And it is brand. It is what people feel and think about your brand and the way you show up, how their trust, relates and resonates with that brand.
It doesn't have to be just founder-led. Even though that's we agree on the founder-led content super important and using the founder as a key part of your marketing and sales strategy.
I do think I'm using the term founder as the individual that does sit in that founder seat and that CEO or that co-founder seat. But I'm a huge fan of founding team members and employees posting and being out there with their own personal brands and hopefully a brand that complements the business and the corporate brand. And in fact, if you're a founder out there or a co-founder or a founding team member at a fintech, I hope you're encouraging your employees to have their own personal brand. Some more traditional I'll use the term founders here. Some people think that employees should only be speaking about the brand. I disagree. I disagree. I think if your employees are out there talking about interesting things that complement the brand and complement the work you're doing they don't have to talk directly about it, but they're strong. I have known instances in which, because of a strong employee brand, business was brought to organizations. And I think that is an underutilized fact.
I have a hunch that executives might think that way, right? Or marketing teams might, that there is a concern about, but I'm always thinking about it too, from whether or not that is true. And if it continue, even if we change the mind of founders, the employees, I feel like there's a fear of, if you say anything that doesn't have to do with the brand, that you'll be perceived. It's almost like sending your resume out. That thought leadership itself is a no-no, almost against being a part of the brand.
Tracy, I have heard this before as well. About a year ago, I was in some meeting with other founders, like a mastermind group of others playing in the fintech and the banking space. And a gentleman that was in part of the same session had made a comment very similar. He said, "We only allow our employees to talk and post about our business. If they were to post their own unique thoughts or anything else, we view that as them not being serious and not interested in staying at our organization across the long term." As a former revenue leader, as a person that has had people's careers in my hand, I think that is such an asinine view. I mean, I'm so sorry to be so bold and blunt about it. If you are a leader at any stage of an organization, but especially at a CEO stage, especially at a nimble and quick fintech, you have to understand, or I hope you at least consider, that these employees and their careers are on loan to you for a period of time. They are being entrusted to you, and that a big part of our role as a leader is to empower them with what they need to be successful now and in their next role, whatever that next role is, wherever that next role is. Because this space, especially in fintech and banking, is small. We see so much movement across organizations, and you never know when one of your team members will go to another organization that you will then need an intro into or that you will be selling to. So I would invite anyone that has that same type of view to consider the alternatives, to think about your employees, their careers, the fact that it's good, and it's good visibility for you to bring up people that are so interesting and so wanted by other organizations that they do go elsewhere, because you can then use that to say, I'm a bit of a kingmaker or a queen maker. I was lucky enough to work with these individuals, and I am so proud of where they've been at this next stage. And if posting from their own personal brand gets that employee there, all the better. And I hope you support it and consider it.
I have this dream for companies, whether it's clients we work with or just any company, to really take advantage of the content game and the employees that you have. And if you can get to a place where you can encourage your employees to create their personal brand, invest in their personal brand as well, not just say, oh, I want y'all to do it, but actually invest on how to do it the best way for themselves and for the company. The companies that do that will have such a unique advantage in the market, because you can literally create a LinkedIn army, just soldiers that are just creating content, and then it becomes like an echo chamber. You don't even have to go viral, especially in the B2B space. If you're focused on LinkedIn, you can be pretty targeted.
Most likely will not go viral.
It's about that real engagement. Yeah.
You also don't have to force it. You can encourage it, and you can at least give them material to begin with. And the material doesn't have to be buy XYZ product because we have these new features. It can be thought leadership. It can be material that you provide out there to your team members. It can be, I don't know, I'd love to hear somebody tape a conversation internally, or
Yep.
use a transcript from an internal meeting, redact all the proprietary stuff, and just talk about what employees had to say and why they chose to do something because it was a better customer experience, or because it would make it more efficient to support those types of elements. You can help your employees, feed it to them until such time that they feel so empowered and so comfortable to begin posting on their own, because that might also not happen overnight, just like it might not happen for you as a founder.
For sure.
Yeah, I'd like to see a kind of a sister brand communication, like a brand guidelines, where you have your corporate brand guidelines, but then when you're having these casual conversations, in person and digitally, just getting to know people, to help people feel comfortable enough to even explore doing well in those opportunities. Like because things become a little, they shift a little bit when you're in that more informal space of brand development when it comes to humans.
Oh, I think that's so good. So good.
And what if like the brand guide too as well also was basically just a mini course on like, this is how you create like really good content. Maybe that's the idea that I have for the future. I'll create a brand guide for, I don't know, companies that they can use to help educate their.
You know what I would love to do a roast of, Stacy?
What?
And DJ. I would love to do a roast of what are those documents that you get when you're an employee?
The employee handbook.
Employee handbook. I would love to get the employee handbook from the past 10 years of when they started putting the word social media in them, and see how negative social media appears in those employee handbooks.
Oh my goodness. That would be so, so good. Because I bet you're right. I bet people are somewhat restrictive. I bet they're very hands off. Oh, I wonder, I'm sure a company has this. We should put a call out on LinkedIn or elsewhere to get a company handbook.
And then we'll do a LinkedIn Live.
This is going to be a follow-up. We'll just do some live follow-ups.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Because I have so much more that I even want to talk to you guys about.
I'm excited for our next talk, though.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so thanks for taking us through this really interesting conversation, very timely conversation, and also a conversation that can set people apart before everybody really catches on that this type of brand development of people, in addition to the brand and the story, is going to propel fintechs forward when they're selling to banks and other financial institutions. That's incredible. It was awesome to, discuss this topic, and even getting a little bit into, we dare say it, your employees having some thought leadership too. I mean, we got to ease in slow, because that was kind of crazy, right? Even founder-led branding is crazy, but employees, okay, all right. So we got to take it slow.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, where can people find you, Stacy?
Probably the best place is out on LinkedIn. I am Stacy Bishop. My parents are a little boring, so I'm just a CY, S-T-A-C-Y Bishop. And you can find me out there. That's likely the best place, or my website, which is stacybishop.com.
Right, as opposed to my EY in Tracy, that interesting EY.
Your parents are more interesting, I guess, than my own. Or perhaps my parents were tired. Well, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt.
The letter E has been known for edgy. So.
E
and Y is
and
yawn.
Oh my God. We're too cute. We belong in a kindergarten class, honestly, though. All right. We'll see you next time, Stacy.